Hey everyone, thanks for joining us tonight for the CNC meeting for the Northeast Youth Championships. Tonight we're going to go over a quick agenda and then I'll introduce everybody on the call. So first we're going to go over from USRowing just a quick intro and a review of the registration and venue schedule. Then our chief referee, Jim Dwyer, will go over a welcome, regatta time, review of traffic patterns, rules of rowing, and unsportsmanlike conduct. And then from there, we'll go back to the LOC with Saratoga and talking about the safety on venue and medical aid. One thing to note, if you do have questions, please go ahead and put them in the Q&A and not the chat. We'll monitor the Q&A for any questions as they come up. Once again, thank you for being here and thank you for, again, being flexible with everything we're dealing with this year. A lot of you are on the COVID call on Sunday, so we really appreciate everyone prioritizing the health and safety of all the rowers. But tonight on this call from USRowing, we have myself, Sarah, and Chris Chase. And then from Saratoga, we have Chris and Eric Catalano, and then our chief referee, Jim Dwyer. So to go over a quick venue schedule, when the USRowing registration tent will open on Friday, it'll open at noon. It'll be open from noon to 6. And that is when your COVID officers can then come up to the desk and get your COVID wristbands. So no athlete should be coming to the venue prior to noon. Noon is when the opening is happening, but please remember that at noon is exactly when you guys can start getting wristbands and therefore your team will be compliant and ready to be on site. This is also a note too, a strong reminder that there are no spectators allowed at this event. And anybody on site must be going through the complete COVID protocols we talked about on Sunday. So that full recording is posted on Regatta Central, and you can read the packet there as well. But this is a reminder that anybody on site does need to follow the protocol, does need to be on the athlete roster, and then therefore will get a wristband from me and your COVID officer upon entering the venue. The registration tent will also be open starting at 6 a.m. both days to the end of racing, and that's where you can find me to make any schedule adjustments or lineup changes and details like that. A reminder for practice, there will not be any practice at this event, so no practice on Friday or before or after racing on Saturday and Sunday. And then a final reminder for heat sheets. So the council is helping out with some rankings right now, and then by Wednesday evening, that is when the heat sheets will be posted via Here Now. So right now you can go onto Regatta Central and see the tentative or the Excel schedule, but on Wednesday evening, we'll officially make the move to Here Now and be set. So now I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Jim Dwyer, and he will be able to go over the referee portion of it all.
Hey everyone, I'm sure like me, you're glad that we're finally back for racing. That is something that I know all the athletes love to do, and it's been a long time since they've been able to do it. I will actually tell you, being that I've done a few events before this, the referees are also pretty excited to get back into this. I put together a very good jury of people. I'm excited to work with the group that I have, and we've spent a little time putting everybody together. So we are looking forward to working with you. The referees are there for two things and two reasons only. It's for safety and fairness, and we want to be there to make sure that you have the best races you possibly can. The referee jury will not monitor the COVID program, so we're not going to come yelling at you about this, that, or the other thing. I mean, if there's a mass issue or something like that, we might ask you to make sure you put your mask up if that isn't, while you're in a situation. For our refs, there will be times where you will see us without a mask on, but that'll only be when we're up at an area where we need to speak, such as the start tower, or if we're following a race and we have a bullhorn. What we would normally do, though, if for some reason you bring us over, if there's an objection, we'll come in, we will put our mask back on for the protection of both the athletes and the refs. So that's our plan. And we get page number 2. Possible. Regatta time is going to be under time.gov. Regattas are always on time. See that, Chris? They even put that in there. We're always on time. You know it. Recommendation launch is now currently between 30 and 35 minutes before your event. And it's unlikely that we fall behind. Absolutely. We'll never fall behind. And but we will do whatever we can to get back on time and as quick as we can. Do not assume anything, and we will maintain our schedule as posted unless you are otherwise given an update on the schedule. Next slide. Eric?
Sure, I can take over here. This is a little sketch of the race course. If you have not been to Saratoga before, the red boxes are 2,000-meter racing lane. There's 3 launch sites. You'll see the yellow arrows coming off Saratoga Boathouse in the bottom on the left. The boat launch, the very bottom, and then just up to the right of that a little bit, Lee's Park. Those yellow arrows are your launching. You'll proceed up the eastern side of the race course, up above the start, and spin around up there. There is a blind corner just at the apex of that turnaround at the start. That is a very dangerous corner, and we don't want crews going around that corner as that's where you can't see around the corner well enough to know what's coming. Once you've spun around up at the top, you'll be called into your lanes by the starter, and when you get down to the finish, you'll follow the green arrows back to your launch site. The one thing to notice is that the crews going back to the Saratoga launch site will turn the opposite direction and come back very tight to that marina there, and pull into the launch site.
Hey, Eric, can I just point out for up there where the S turn is above the starting line?
Yep.
If we have any emergencies, lightning, things like that, the closest dock for you is not to come back down to where you launch from. The closest dock is actually right around that bend. Skidmore College is there. And that is the closest place for an emergency if you needed to from up there. Other than that, we don't want you going around that bend.
Thank you. Next slide there. When you do get up to the start and turn around, this is kind of an idea of what it will look like. We have floating stake boats, so you can pull in between those stake boats and then back in. That's the easiest way to get there. We don't want you cutting perpendicular across the lanes like you would at some venues where there's a solid stake dock. We'd rather you go between them and then back into your stake boat. The one thing to watch for is there'll be a very large starters platform in the middle of the course. It'll be plenty far behind the course, but as you are turning around and approaching the stake boats, the crews in the middle lanes will need to work around that starters platform to get between their stake boats. Once you're entering the race course, on your right hand side, there'll be an aligner's platform. It's from there that your boats will be aligned, and the notice will be given to the starter, who will start you from behind.
Eric, do you have any preference on lane 1? Because that stake boat is in lane 1 and it's right along the row-up lane, the warm-up lane. Do you want them to come in from the starboard side?
Yeah, that's probably advisable because it does keep athletes further away from the warm-up lane. Thank you.
And also, as you're warming up, please note that you're going along lane 1. So keep in mind that people will be coming racing down in that lane. You're going to, around the start, you're going to want to be careful because they might not be looking out for you. So don't do practice starts or whatever, and then find yourself rowing into lane 1 on accident.
And I think this may be covered in the referees section, but it is courtesy to stop when you see a race coming by and not do your own power 10 in the opposite direction in the warm-up lane that the race is going. Best to stop, let the race go by, and then continue your warm-up. What I want to point out here is that our race course does have 10 lanes from 1500 down. So if you are up in lane 6 and you are racing down the and you're racing in lane 6, when you get to 1500 meters, there will be a lot more lanes off to your right. They will be empty lanes, but don't get confused as you go from a 6-lane course into a 10-lane course. This picture just kind of shows how that would work. Next slide.
Hold on one sec. There we go.
Oh, next slide might not be me anymore.
I guess that's me now. You are responsible to understand the rules of rowing. Things that we were just discussing, such as Eric said, is not a asterisk rule, but it's a rule that is common courtesy, that we ask you to stop rowing when a race comes by. One, to not only minimize your wake, but also to give some tribute to those who are racing. The equipment is going to be done a little differently. Normally, when you show up and you're in the control commission, a referee will either ask you to tilt your boat so he can check both the bow ball and the heel ties. But due to a COVID exception, we're not doing that. So we're going to have slings by each one of the docks so that you'll put your boat in the slings, and we will ask you, either the coxswain, a coach, or if it's a blind boat, one of the rowers, to demonstrate the heel ties. So the ref will stand by you, watch you pull on the shoes to make sure you're staying within that 3-inch limit, and that if there's a problem, to then repair it, it's in the slings. We're hoping that this does not happen a lot, that we have to repair them, because that would obviously slow the process down. And also, please be cognizant of the fact of having the right bow number. We know that these things get confusing. Sometimes you got the wrong number, or you put the wrong number on the boat, or the coach gives you the wrong number. Please be cognizant of the fact that it's critical that we have all the correct numbers on the boats before we launch them. Now, the other thing is broken equipment. Please alert the nearest referee. We'll do what we can for you in the race. Sometimes we can do something, sometimes we just can't. But please bring it to our attention so we know. And then the next thing, referees will, anytime a referee will give you an instruction, whether it be on the water or at a start platform, please always acknowledge that you heard them, and you do that by raising your hand. I've heard or seen many times where a rower will just raise his hand before the referee even actually says anything. We would prefer you to actually listen to what the referee is saying, then acknowledge that. And generally, it also does require you to do an action of some kind. Another area that we do not or cannot have you do is we cannot have you stop at the start line to watch a boat go by, or to see if your team is winning. We do not want you stopping by the aligner's line. You cannot break the line of sight, particularly now that we're using a digital here and now cameras. You cannot block that camera. So if they had to make a very, very tight call as to order a finish, they have to be able to see the boat. So those two players, you may hear a referee bark out at you, get off the line. That's what we're looking you to do, to make sure that that line is totally clear for both the cameras and the eyesight of the judge at finish. I think Eric covered the power stroke sequences along the race course. Please don't do them. I don't need to repeat that. Follow the traffic pattern. That's the only way we can keep you safe. These traffic patterns were designed, particularly by the LOCs a long time ago, to keep everyone healthy. Next slide, please. Sprint start. The starter will call you, just as Eric had made mention. You saw the stake boats. You will be asked to come on the course, and as you come on the course, as Chris had said, we're going to ask you to go to your starboard side. If you don't know which side that is, ask the coach. But we prefer you to do that, because then it's a very nice and organized an orderly way. Everyone's moving to the right. And this way we don't have some boats going to the left and some to the right, and then we start playing oar hockey. We would prefer not to do that. Also, the other thing, and we saw this I just did in Mid-Atlantics, where we had some of the novice teams decide that they wanted to go down to the 500 mark and then back up from there. Let's try to get as minimal amount of backing you need to do to get on the stack. Also, because it takes time. You must be locked on 2 minutes before. And when you do lock on, or when most of them are locked on, you're going to be told by the ref on the start as to how much time before the event is going to start. If we are running early and that does happen, you will be asked or polled across all 6 lanes if it would be all right if we can start the race early. If you have any objection to that, again, raise your hand and we will go on the posted time. If not, we may start the race a little bit earlier. Hands are not usually recognized through start. Crews will be polled in steady cadence, attention, and then after which you will see go. But more than anything else, you're not listening for the word go, you're looking for the flag. In rowing, we are a navigable sport. Everything has to do with flags. So it's the movement of the flag is when the race starts. If for some reason a starter were to drop the flag and then say go a minute later, the time starts when the flag goes down. So the key focus for you is the movement of the flag. If you, for some reason, someone loses their point, somebody falls off the stake boat, and they have to stop the start, what you will normally hear is as you were. The flag will be slowly moved down in front of the referee's chest, not waved in any way, brought down in front of the chest, and we'll start the process all over again once the situation has been fixed. If you leave the start, you accept the start. Translation: if you have a problem in the start within the first 100 meters, stop. If you don't, once you get down to the end of the course and you say, oh, what happened when, once it happens in the start, you've accepted the start. You cannot object or protest to something that had in the start if you don't stop in the start area. That is critical. Our breakage zone is 100 meters or 20 seconds. So if you, and I know that the course is buoyed that way, you would see the change in the color of the buoy as the 100-meter mark. It's still true, right, Eric?
There's a yellow buoy at the first
Right.
100 meters.
So if you pass that yellow meter, that would be considered the end of the start area or breakage zone. Again, it's sometimes instead of looking, it's about a 20-second count. Next slide. Race officials will follow behind you, and they will call your boat or your team name. And then if they need you to move to the right or to the left, they will indicate that with the movement of a flag. They don't wave the flag, they point the flag to the direction they would like you to go. And in the middle of the race time, we do not necessarily need you to acknowledge that you see it. We just need to see you do it, okay? Your finish will be by the sound, you will hear the sound of a horn. But again, everything in rowing is a visual. So it's actually the drop of the orange flag that's along the beach that will be the end of the race. If you do have an objection, please bring that to the attention of the refs. Once you cross the finish line, raise your hands. We will approach the boat. Current technique for refs is we're going to try to come up to you as close to you as possible, get down in the boat so that we're more eye to eye with the rowers. Please, only one person in that boat can speak. All right. So we will only communicate with one person. Generally, it's anticipated in a Cox boat, that would be the coxswain. Explain your objections. If we can, depending on wind and weather conditions, we will turn the motor off of the boat so it's quiet and we can all speak. If we can't, the motor would end up staying on. Explain to us what happened. We will tell you what we've seen after you tell us what you think is a fair resolution to the problem. You know, any time that you don't find that you can adjudicate it on the water, you still have the right to, when you land, within 1 hour, to put a formal protest in, and then with that protest comes a $50 fee. For the sake of speed, we generally ask you to get whatever witness statements you have written up before you're called to the trial for all practical purposes. Next slide. Unsportsmanlike conduct. US Rowing and the sport in general are trying to avoid poor contact between teams in the form of cursing. So if we do hear cursing, you may get a warning at first, but more than likely, you could be excluded from the event. Do not razz another team, do not curse at another team. And what's even more important, don't curse at your own team. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to have to come down and exclude anybody, but we will, because we want to make sure the sport is a sport where that language is not being used. Next one. Next slide. That's you, Chris.
All right, so I'll go through this real quick, and then we have some questions here that we can go through. Let's see here. Okay, so what you see here is the map. Most of you have been here. I think all of you guys have been here before. You're going to take the left-hand turn, this first arrow here. I'm using my cursor like they can see me doing it, right? You're going to take the left into the park. Trailer lot A, I'll tell you who's in this. CRI, your 2 trailers, and Burn Hills, you'll be at Saratoga's Boathouse, which is obviously before you cross the bridge. You guys know that. At the boat launch, which is trailer lot A. Greenwich, Royal America Rye, CBC, Concord, I'll email this too, by the way. Concord, Cambridge, Nobles, and Riverside are sharing a trailer. Brownfield and Port Jeff, you will be in trailer lot A. Your buses or support vehicles will be in trailer lot B. All right, so we'll just use this entrance here, going to the docks and coming back. As you turn in, please, everybody should notice the location of the EMS tent. That's where the ambulance will be. If you have any issues, you'll go there, and that gives them the quickest exit from the site. So if anybody needs them, they'll be here. If you need them to come to you, they can. All the roads are open that they can get back to Lee's Park if necessary. There is also an emergency group right past here called Quaker Springs. They also have emergency services. So should these guys have to leave with the ambulance, there'll be one. I mean, there's one just a couple feet down the road or half mile down the road. It is important that everybody understands what I'm about to say about the parking fields and about spectators. We were able to get these permits because at the time that we filled out the permits, if we kept this under 500 people, we didn't need mass gathering permits, which would have made it impossible to host a regatta. But once we hit 200, all of the COVID regulations came in. So what I've done is I've divvied up the trailers. So in the back lot, Lee's Park, Maritime, Saugatuck, GMS, Norwalk, Greater Lawrence, Albany, Brookline, and Oak Neck will be back there. What I've tried to do is separate the number of entries that are going to need to use the docks evenly. I've also tried to keep it so that the lots with the number of athletes that you all said were coming even as well. So factoring in coaches and the essential parents, I get a kick out of the essential parents part, because I want you guys to know that you shouldn't have more than one for every 15. And if you don't need that many, you shouldn't bring them. And here's why. We cannot, absolutely cannot go over 499 and any one of the sites. So this is going to be over 400 back in Lee's Park already. What we don't need, oh, by the way, all car toppers also go back to Lee's Park, all of them. If you're from one of the sculling teams, it's preferable that your boat goes on your trailer. So Oak Neck, you should be on the Oak Neck trailer. If there's no room and a couple of you need a car top, great. It doesn't mean that 25 kids with singles, their parents have found a way to get on site because they're the trailer driver now, right? If they car top. That's not the goal here. Because what that will do is increase our numbers. And if we go over 500, somebody can pull our permit in a blink of an eye. So the numbers are set to be even. If you are in the back lot and you have a bus or you have team vans, you can bring those back there. If you are just dropping off your athlete, and we have what, 1,100 athletes total, 1,200 athletes, you will come through, you'll take the left, you go past the EMS. Next to the EMS, by the way, will be N&D, and he is fully vaccinated. Anybody on site has to have a wristband from Sarah, anybody. So if you're the mom or dad driving the team van, great. You have to have a wristlet. Anybody else who's dropping off their kid, and look, man, we'd love to have the parents there. We absolutely would. We just can't break the guidelines that we signed permits for. And I'm not going to risk, or Eric's not going to risk, regattas on this site for the future years because we were selfish or entitled and felt like we could come on site. If you're just dropping off your kid, that's all you're doing. You're dropping off your kid and you're leaving. So you're going to come down through the arrow. You're going to follow where it says cars to the right. You're going to drop off where it says drop offs. And then you're going to come back out that road. There's a road there. You will just continue the loop. You will never turn back on yourself. You will just keep going around the loop and you'll come out this other exit, which is the spot where people park cars between Stewart's and the corner. So there's another entrance and egress there. You will come out there and then go downtown, watch it live on hopefully we'll have it by then. We'll have the drones and everything done. You can watch it live on, what is Sarah's going to be our YouTube channel or
Yeah,
Facebook?
right. It'll
Okay.
be on the USRowing YouTube.
The point I really need to make is I don't need anybody to trying to find a sneaky way to be back there and park and walk around. Lee's Park is allowing us to have this race for virtually free, just so that we can do this as a favor. If you don't have a wristlet, you should not be on site. If we have any other problems with EMS, the sheriff's boats and the state police, they're all down here by the pier. Most of you have been down here by the pier. We are not looking for you to try to find ways to park along 9P on the road because you're not allowed into the site. If we crowd this bridge, county officials will come and then they'll start counting. And so if we create a problem, they will respond to the problem and we could have the permits pulled. So we're doing this race because there was no other place to put it. So we have to stay within the rules. And I hope that you can understand and respect that so we can host the race. Every one of the 3 locations will have double docks. Eric, correct? They're going to be all 120 feet long, 2 on each of the 3 locations, right?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Dwyer's already talked about how we're going to check heel ties and bow balls. I'm trying to think. I got a couple of things here to go through. Sarah, hold on. Drop-offs, you talked about essential parents. You'll have to get your wristbands, EMS, location, N&D, if in case you're wondering, fully vaccinated. Car toppers will go in the back. And there was a map that was sent out earlier that had car toppers in the back side of the trailer. Please understand that Lee's Park is open for their customers. We don't normally do regattas this late. So the 150 campers that are in here for the summer, they're already here. The people are here. So you cannot walk through his property. Stick to the road. The boats will be in the back lot and they will walk down. Yes, car top drivers will need wristbands. So if you are bringing your boat in, you're going to have to register with Sarah and get your wristband, or you're going to have to be on the list for your team.
Yeah, so if
Right.
you're a car top driver, then that means that you need to be registered on your team's roster and designated as an essential staff. So again, everybody that comes into the venue has gone through all the COVID protocols. Their name is on one of the team's roster, and then therefore they'll get the wristband. If you don't have a wristband, you're not getting in at any point unless you're just simply dropping off and leaving.
And Liz, we had a question here, parking for apparent assistance. So if you are in the front lot by the road, by 9P, which is the road along the bridge here, those vehicles can park in parking lot, trailer lot B. So we'll have it set up that you can park there. Your buses and vans can park there. If you are in Lee's Park, and Tom, your question was, where's Lee's Park? So the boat launch is in the front, the center of this picture. Everything to the left and back of it is Lee's Park. So there's 200 acres back there. So as you follow the arrows all the way back to where it says back trailer lot, on the right side of that arrow is where the vans will go for this lot. And then on just kitty corner of that will be all the car toppers. You'll have there's 200 acres. I mean, 8 trailers are going to have so much space. Don't get used to it. For the next time we host regattas, you won't get that much space again, ever, probably. If you do, it's because we're in another pandemic, and that's going to stink worse. So you all know, if you are one of these parents' assistants, you are driving this, or you're helping with food, you will need to be on the list that is handed to Sarah, and you will need to have a wristband. About food, you can't bring, there's no grills, there's no preparation of food on site. That's a New York State rule for us for our permit as well. You have to have everything pre-prepared. You can have it delivered to the front building right there in the picture. You can have your parents go out and get it. As long as they can come back in with a wristband, you can do any of that. See here, we got a couple more things here. Questions?
Second, a couple of things if you do,
Sure.
when you get done.
Yep. So let's run down. Do you want to do yours, Jim, or you want me to go through these questions?
Well, sure. I think I might actually answer a couple of the questions.
Okay.
One of the ones is some people have asked if you have a less than fully subscribed event. We're not obviously doing eliminations. Are we leaving the event there? So if it's say 6 to qualify to finals on Sunday, but the event on Saturday only has 5 in it, we are running the race. Obviously, you already have a position in finals, so we're running it for position in lanes, but it's also giving you the opportunity to give your rowers an extra day or a first day of racing to strengthen up and work on whatever strategies you want to do. The thoughts were both US Rowing and from Chris that as long as we're there, we have the refs, we have the timing, we have the start and finish and the buoy course. Let's do it. So you can take that opportunity. Now, being you've already qualified for finals, you may choose not to do that. What we're going to do is ask you to tell us that you're scratching that, so that when it shows up, we won't actually be sitting there looking for Saratoga Sea Boat in this event if they're not going to be there. So we'll know that. The other thing is in dock in and dock out, we are requiring a minimal amount of people on the docks, just enough people to launch the boat or to recover the boat. Again, that's a COVID protocol. It was somewhat discussed on Saturday. The other one is, and this is the thing that we all run across, I'm going to ask all the coaches if they would spend a little time this week practicing sculling on a stake boat. The things that tend to mess up are timing and getting boats off on time, and then sometimes forcing referees to ask a team to row off and follow the race down is that they're not comfortable with sculling. I mean, I have refs that work for me that can park an 8 in the middle of Manhattan with 2 inches on either side of their boat, but that's not their job. I can't always make sure that every ref that's up there has that skill and that ability. We need you guys to get on there and understand how to scull a race so that you're ready to go, even if there's a little crosswind. That is what makes everybody happy. If you need me, as in to get in touch with me, I'll give you my cell number. It's 518-376-9172. Only kidding, Chris. That you said everyone knows that number anyway. No, my real phone number is 518-573-0320. And if you're on the other side of the river, that's probably the only way you're going to get me. If you're on the Saratoga side, I'm usually easy to find. I'm just shy of what would be a tall Santa Claus with this white beard. So just look for a tall Santa Claus and you'll probably find me. I think that's all I have, Chris.
A couple of things. Many of your parents know where the finish line is on the Saratoga side, and we don't want your parents walking across the bridge and going into the Saratoga side. It'll add more people over there than we can have. We also don't need you parking in all the little parking, the neighborhoods around us, because they will call the police, and then we'll have more town and county officials coming down and looking into things. So when they park up in that neighborhood, I mean, if you've come enough years, enough regattas, you know where those neighborhoods are. You're not allowed to park up in those neighborhoods. So I think the one above our boathouse is going to start towing, because we do put out the signs, no parking. So I think they're going to start towing. Not to mention, when you walk down that hill between people's houses, you're trespassing. It's all private property. So although you found the secret place, it doesn't mean you should use it. I will send a form for what Jim was talking about, sculling it around when you're in a stake boat. Also on the Saratoga website and also on YouTube, on YouTube, if you put in sculling it around or backing into a stake boat, there are videos. And since we're coming out of a year and a half of not getting much racing at all, a lot of the kids are probably novice or new at this. So I would look it up on YouTube, and I would also wait for that form to come. It's just a diagram on how you actually scull a boat around. All right, so let's get into some of the questions here. Let's see here. Will races fewer than 6 entries be final only? Jim, I think you just spoke about that. Those races will be final only, but Sarah, correct me, we're going to allow them to race 4 lanes on Saturday, correct?
Right, that's correct.
Yep. And somebody asked, are they 1,500 or there's no time trials and everything is a 2K, everything. Okay. I'm going to leave this one right here for a second. How will this race affect boats qualifying for nationals? Let's talk about that in a little bit. We'll save that for later because that's fun. Is the warm-up row, Eric, only to up to the start, or is there a traffic pattern above the start from the S turn to the traffic to the starting line? And how far is the starting line to the tip of the S turn?
It's only about 200 meters max, and so the warm up is up to the start. If you look to have more than 2,100 meters of warm up, you should warm up on shore.
Chris, you
Just
muted.
to repeat,
marshals right up there too.
all heats and finals are 2K. Holly, you got the distance from the starting line to the end of the warm-up area, right? All the lanes are buoyed. Anything special, Eric, about the buoys? The first 100 or 200?
Yeah,
the last 250.
There is it's buoyed with white buoys. There's a yellow buoy every 100 meters. There's a double yellow buoy every 500 meters with a big marker over on the on your right hand side while racing on the western side. Every 250 meters there is a green buoy, and then in the last 250 meters are all red buoys, and then there are very large orange buoys just past the finish line.
All right, so somebody had asked, can we go over the buoys and the race course and the warm-up? I hope that covers it. If you have more questions, please ask. Is there a cutoff time window before race time for when you need to pick up your credentials on Saturday? Sarah, you want to go back to that slide that showed when everything was going to be opened?
Yes. So all documentation should be sent to me via email by noon on Friday. So that should come into the events team at USRowing.org by Friday at noon. So I'll have all paperwork by then. Then from there, you'll pick up your credentials and your wristbands starting at noon on Friday. If you are just arriving early Saturday morning and you're ensuring that no kids will be on site prior to you as in the COVID officer, then I can do that Saturday morning for you. But it's just essential that prior to any kids, athletes, essential staff arriving on site, the COVID officer has checked in with the tent, the US Rowing tent, and therefore you can then go distribute to your team.
Are team vans parked in the same places as the buses? Yes, what I'm going to try to do is put the buses on one side of trailer lot B in the boat launch and put cars and vans on the other side. Guys, there's only 8 trailers in there. So if there's like 400 cars, we have to have another talk. So if you're in Holly, to answer your question, if you're arriving by car, you will also park there where the vans would be on that side. So team vans and coaches vehicles, essential. What I'm hoping is that you don't have like 17 essential parents and they all bring their own cars in. I mean, that would be ludicrous. You can find a way to, I think, to get everybody in. Other than that, I hope you don't have 17 essential parents anyways. Just kidding, parents, you're all essential. Where do you get your bow numbers, Sarah?
Bow numbers will be supplied by you all. So USRowing will not be supplying any sprint racing bow numbers. We haven't this spring. We've supplied time trials, but there's no time trials at this event. So you guys will be supplying the bow numbers.
Where will I find that map of car top parking? I will send that out in the email tonight to everybody on the email list, as well as I'll send out the sculling it around stuff. Can you launch from either side of the dock, or you can launch on both sides of the dock? Good rule of thumb, Coxswains and bow seats and the sculling boats is that before you actually lower the boat in, make sure that your skeg has enough room and is not going to be put into any muck. So, I mean, you know, if the water fluctuates on a shoreline, just make sure that you know where you're putting that skeg into. But you can launch on both sides. When you, to take that question a little further, there are two docks. Until the first race comes back, both of them can be outgoing. Once the racing starts and the boats are coming back, as you're facing the water, the right-hand dock will be the launch dock, the left-hand dock will be the return dock. All right. And then if we go to break, at the end of break, and we start launching again, both docks can be used to launch until the first race comes through the finish line. And then we're back to the right-hand dock is the outgoing dock, and the left-hand dock is the return dock. Hope that answers that question. Every one of you has been given, will get at least one porta potty in your space where your trailer will go. So if you want more porta potties, then you have to order them. What I told the porta potty company was I ordered everybody one. And I also told them that we want them cleaned Friday night and Saturday night so that, you know, they don't accumulate. So those are the bathrooms that will go with your trailer. If, like I said, I put out the email to everybody with the contact information if you want more than that. Also, there will be 2 dumpsters at both sites. All the sites will have dumpsters. You bring it in, either take it out or put it in the dumpster on the way out. We're not gonna, you know, we're not here to clean up the garbage bags or let the animals get to it overnight. So please make sure of that. In Lee's Park, you cannot leave any vehicles overnight. So, I mean, sometimes people will leave a whole bunch of cars overnight or try to sleep in their vehicles. You know, he's doing us a favor, so please remove the cars from his lot overnight. All the heats and finals are 2K. What's the scoop on the drone service? So the drone coverage, what we're trying to do is alleviate the stress of the parents feeling like they have to be there to watch it live. So there's a company out of Syracuse. In previous regattas, he's practiced his drone thing and he's made a business out of it now. So I know Mike Weineke's been talking to him about would he do our race so that parents can be anywhere and watch it live. And if we do, it'll be on USRowing's YouTube channel. There comes a cost, and the GoFundMe is an attempt to pay for that service so that the parents can see the regatta wherever they are, even if it's back home. You can lock into USRowing's YouTube, which we will send out the link if we end up getting through on this. So Holly, the answer to your question is, it's the attempt to get this thing live so that everybody, wherever they are, can watch it and then don't feel like they have to stand on that bridge for 2 hours and get in trouble with the sheriff. So athletes cannot continue to warm up past the starting line, making loops. So athletes can go past the starting line. They have to turn before the S-turn. They cannot go around the S-turn and keep going. We will have no safety launches down there. In the event that there's an emergency, that is the closest, if you're down there, that's the closest. Skidmore is the closest place to go. Eric, do you want to answer, can they do loops in that 250 meter space?
They cannot do loops in the 250 meter space. There's not enough room to avoid the oncoming traffic of people coming up the course.
This presentation, Sarah, will this be uploaded, or do you want to send me a PDF and we'll email, or can you email it out to everybody?
I'll post the recording on Regatta Central after this, along with the COVID webinar.
So the recording and this actual document, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Should novice crews anticipate a quick start or announcement of the cruise. Jim, this is all you.
When, if the conditions were as beautiful as that picture we saw, the dock, the lake itself, or the water is, no, you would get a full announcement start. When conditions change is when the ref will determine, the starter will determine to go to a quick start. But we normally would like to do a full announcement of all of the crews, and then the normal attention go procedure. There you go.
All right, let's see here. In case you're wondering, Imagine Aerial is the drone company. If you want to look them up online, if you'd like to chip in $10 or $20, that'd be awesome. Where can we find a race course map? You'll be able to find it in this presentation on the USRowing website. And Sarah just said she was going to put this up. Where will the registration tent be located? When you turn left into the boat launch, when you come off the main 9P and turn left on your right hand, so there's a building right there. There's a little parking lot to that building, and then you will see it right where it says EMS. We will have Sarah's tent put right in that area. There's a grass green area, and we'll have it on that. Speaking of the tents, if you're in Lee's Park, you're going to have an enormous amount of space for tents, and I have a feeling we're going to spoil you on this one. In the boat launch, not the same amount of space, but there's only 8 trailers, and I'm going to try to find unique spaces for each of you so that you're not on top of each other, and your porta potties are with you, and your food tents are with you, and so that you're not near each other. So as you arrive and I park your trailer, I will show you the green area that is yours. And so if we can make an effort, coaches, to keep the athletes apart from people on other teams, anything that we can do, especially out front here where, any county official or Department of Health, person's going to be looking if they're there. Let's just make sure that we're following the guidelines. It's a mask up area, and I know that on the one hand, Governor Cuomo has said that within reason in the outdoors, you can have masks off, but at sporting events, it still recommends that everybody wear their masks. And our permit stipulates that people have to wear masks. Now,
And that's also in the USRowing COVID guidelines. That's the COVID officer is signing off that everyone on site will wear masks for the entirety of the event. The only time where anybody could take off their mask is an actual rower who's been shoved off from the dock. So if there's a scenario where somebody does take down a mask, they'll be immediately asked. But if it continues, then exclusion would be the next option from there. So it is extremely important that everybody wears those masks at all times.
Mike put the GoFundMe link in here. Would you, Mike, put that in the chat so everybody could cut and paste it if they'd like? No weigh-ins. There are no weigh-ins for any reason. Oh, Jim, did you want to say something about that?
I was just going to answer that question. But you did, so we're good.
Where's the schedule listed? We have seeded the events, especially the ones that have multiple heats, so that we don't have a craziness of all the fast boats in one heat. That seeding will be done by tomorrow morning, I believe. And Sarah will have the official schedule out by tomorrow afternoon, late afternoon. As soon as the seeding's in, we can start generating the schedule, right, Sarah?
Right. So there's one posted on the website right now. It's in an Excel file that's been posted for a couple days. But once it gets moved to here now, once the council finishes the seeding, then I can make it public tomorrow evening, and it'll be official on here now.
Sarah, where do you get the wristbands is a question.
At the USRowing registration tent. So that is the first place that the COVID officer is coming.
And the COVID officer will bring them back to the trailer and hand them out amongst the athletes, correct?
Correct. Yep. So I'll have, again, by the time that everybody arrives on site, those 2 documents, that one being the roster and the second one being the signed copy of the COVID protocols, that should be in the events team at usrowing.org's inbox. Then from there, I will have the number of people on your roster with me. And so when you arrive, you'll again submit a copy of your signed COVID protocols document. I'll give you that exact number of wristbands, and then you'll distribute it to those athletes, coaches, and essential staff on your roster.
So as you come across the bridge and you take a left into the whole venue, There's a building right there that you can see immediately. Right after that building is the parking lot that goes through that building. And then right next to that will be the EMS crew and also the US Rowing tent. And of course, the most important thing is the t-shirt. So you can get your t-shirt because that's why we do this, because the t-shirt. So right in a row, you'll have EMS, you'll have US Rowing and wristbands, and then t-shirt. So that's physically where it is. Do U17 and 2V boats have separate finals? Yes, they do.
And that is shown on the schedule that's currently posted.
All right, is somebody messing with me here? Is this like the 6th time somebody's asked me where the US Rowing registration tent is? So which one of you guys is messing with me? All right.
Right here.
All right. Coxswains can remove their masks in the boat, correct? Sarah?
Coxswains in a stern coxed boat. So if you're in an 8, coxswains will not remove their masks. Coxswains are required to wear masks and eye protection. In a 4, coxswains can remove it, but in an 8, coxswains must wear a mask and eye protection at all times.
And I think it's been proven if you wear pit vipers, the big ones, that you will go 3 seconds faster. I heard that on Reddit, and so it has to be true.
Endorsed by Chris.
Yeah, I might wear a pair myself. Let's see here. How will this race affect boats qualifying for nationals? If there are boats not entered in this race but entered in youth nationals, how does that qualification work?
So I would defer to your councils. We had a really good meeting with all councils last night to go over what that process looks like. But essentially, if an event does surpass the 40 entry limit, it will then go to the regional council for to decide who gets what bids. So it's up to the council to decide what criteria needs to be brought to decide those 4 choices. So it could be the council, is looking at everything. They're not necessarily looking at one race or one event, but the goal is to get all your information out there. If you've raced duels, if you've raced in other regattas, all that information is something that your council would consider in deciding who would receive the bids. If you want more specifics on that, I would definitely reach out to, again, your specific council.
Please just note that New York crews that are racing in this event, unless they raced in this event in 2019, I believe, Sarah,
Right.
this is for Northeast crews.
Correct.
So a New York crew cannot win unless they were an original from 2019. And I'm not, are there any there? If you're worried about your bids going to any New York crew, they don't. New York has to qualify through the New York State Championships the following weekend.
Right. That's correct. And I'll say too, going off of medals for this event. So at this event, medals will not be giving out. They'll be mailed out afterwards. However, if you're the way that it all works out is if you're an in-region crew. So by in-region, you designate as this being your qualifier in any other year, you will automatically receive the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place Northeast Youth Championship medal. If you originally had a separate qualifier and you received 1st, 2nd, or 3rd place, you would receive an out-of-region medal. So that being said, so if there's one out-of-region crew that finishes 3rd place, they will receive an out-of-region medal. But then therefore the 4th place in region, so the 4th place Northeast Youth Championships would then receive the 3rd place regional medal. I know that's super confusing, but just trying to explain that medal situation here.
Who is the Northeast Council? I've been asked this recently. It's Sharon Kriz, right? Heidi Huntsberger from Greenwich, John Leonard, right? Is Mark in it? Right, Mark Grenberg. And who am I missing? Is there 5? Somebody want to type it in there and give us a little?
Someone type it in.
Come on, look us up.
For a t-shirt, the answer is
Will Congram. Well, he's very shy. That's why we didn't know that. Will's the shy one. So Will Congram from CRI. Thank you. Oh, Jonathan Neer. Jonathan Neer is also on. So you can reach out to any or all of them to get the answer. the first thing is the event has to get to 40. And then if it gets to 40, there have to be more than 4 Northeast teams registered at use for it to become an issue.
Right.
So, all right. Just to clarify, Sarah, a coxswain in a 4 is not required to wear a mask or eye covering.
Correct. While rowing and after they push off from the dock.
A bow coxed 4.
A bow cox 4, right?
Correct. Correct.
But a
Yes. Thank
stern
you.
cox 4 is the same as an 8, and they have to wear the mask and the pit vipers. That's a thing. I'm starting.
Exactly.
Okay, here's a question that scares me. Can you clarify, are coaches included in the 1 essential adult per 15 rowers? No, coaches need to coach and take care of their business. But the fact that you're asking tells me that you think you're at 15, and that already freaks me out. Because, I mean, if it's 1 for every 15, the biggest team, well, there's only 2 teams that are that big, right? So, look, if they're not essential, please don't have them in there. Like, I mean, you're only passing out pre-made lunches, right? I mean, what are we talking about? Driving the vans and passing out lunches that somebody else made. I'm just saying. So, so coaches are not. Coaches, next thing you know, we'll have 77 coaches on every staff too. Oh, these guys are all coaches. And we also don't need any lectures that start off with, I'm a doctor and I think that these protocols are crap. Because that's a true story from a regional that already happened. If you're a doctor, great. Have some grace and, enjoy the weekend. Any other questions? Eric Catalano's been up since 3:15. He's going to fall asleep on this call if we don't get through this. All right. Since heats are not seated by time trial, what happens if a crew is bumped out by a New York crew? There's nothing we can do to make adjustments about the final. That's why the Northeast is seating. That's why the council is seating. So Brian, I wish I had a better answer for you. I mean, this, it happened a couple times in the Southeast, and I may or may not have had 3 phone calls about it today.
Chase, you want to answer Mark's question as well?
Is it Mark Brandberg? Hold on.
Yeah,
Where is it?
yeah.
Oh, God. Do you expect all the men and women to be off venue when the other gender is racing? Okay, it's a good question. For the record, I've done the math of everybody who has signed up and the number of athletes coming with each team. If everybody's on site at the same time, we will not go over, assuming we're within reason with essential adults. We will not be over 500 if every male and female athlete is on site with the coaches and the reasonable number of parents, then we will not go over 500 on any one site. So Mark, is it imperative? No. But if they want to leave,
Suggested though.
if they want to leave and go downtown or go home, or sure. Two really important things. The bridge is going to be a place where everybody's going to want to go. I'm sure of it. It's the first place the county officials are going to look, right? It's the first place the sheriff is going to freak out about. Second, these docks in Lee's Park, your teams simply cannot go down there and cheer and chant and all these docks will actually have boats in them, and our insurance doesn't cover anything that happens on these docks, and the parks insurance won't cover any of our people on the dock. So coaches will walk up with their crews and launch their boats. Coaches, if you want to, hang out a little bit longer and saunter slowly back while you watch the end of a race that you might be in, that's fine, but you can't be bringing all your teams and your parents down and taking pictures off the docks and all that. They can't be down there. So I just ask that you respect that. But the bridge and these docks and parking up in the neighborhoods, if you could help us help you, that would be awesome. More questions? Last thing, if you're a car topper and you can get your boat, your single on the trailer, please do. Any other questions?
I would just advise if you can move your opposite gender off site, there's a lot less people you're going to have to try and wrangle to stay inside your zone.
Right, and you are expected to stay in your zone. Right, in where your trailer and your space is. Okay.
No
Anything
more
else?
questions?
Now, Chris, this is the warmest we've ever had a CNC meeting. There's no Coxswains wrapped up in blankets or anything. Been pretty nice.
Yeah, it's not bad, not bad at all. And as we all know, it's not going to rain. It never rains at Saratoga Regattas. So, and it's probably going to rain. So, so
Thank you
for the
for that.
mom who told me at the last regatta, she was mad that she bought Hunter boots for $220 and it hasn't rained in 3 regattas. So this Saturday might be your chance.
That's inspiring.
Return on investment. Good for you. All
Awesome.
right, guys, I'm done.
Great. Well, I will post this tonight. Please share this. And again, please share the COVID webinar with your teams. Other than that, thank you guys, and we will see you this weekend.
Bye.